to the shadow. You shall not pass!
Hello everybody, and welcome into another video. I'm FranklinTurtz, and I'm your internet turtle. Justice is on the march, and the Varangian Guard is coming for her revenge. This character looks really sick and very different from a lot of the recent characters that they've been bringing out. This is essentially the complete antithesis of, fast, multiple combos, flowing combos in and out of constant offense. She is almost fully defensive, I would say, with maybe a little bit of offense sprinkled in there, so she's not totally useless offensively. But it's really nice to see that they're willing to change it up a little bit. But without further ado, we're going to jump right on into this Warrior's Den overview. Hey, that rhymed. They first talked about the fact that For Honor is now going to be going into another year of being in existence. It's going into its anniversary this February 14th, Singles Awareness Day, otherwise known as Valentine's Day, for those that do have people they are dating. To celebrate this, and to celebrate the, I think, 35 million players that are registered in the game, which is an insane number, honestly.
Dead game, by the way.
They're bringing out a brand new effect. It's a firework effect, but what's different about this effect is it seems to go based off of what colors you pick on your character. So as you can see with the Shinobi, for example, you could have like a red, yellow, sparkly fireworks, or you could have more like cool blue purpley fireworks. It depends on what colors you pick. Alright, so next up, they have heard our cries over the years, they see what we're saying, and we're finally getting new maps. Kind of. So we're actually getting converted maps, which is basically them saying that they're going to be taking some of the maps from other game modes that aren't really played that much, so kind of like maps from Deathmatch. So they're going to be taking these maps and they're going to be retrofitting them into Dominion, because let's be honest, Dominion is what 99% of people in this game do play most of the time. So they're taking those maps, they're bringing them in, so it's going to kind of be somewhat sort of new in that it's going to dilute the map pool a bit more. Maybe we won't get maps like Forge as much, which would be pretty nice, but it's going to be interesting to see what maps that they do pick. I know that there's been a few for certain like events and stuff like that, like the Wyvern event. I believe we went to, I think it's Cathedral, and that proved to be a pretty good Dominion style map for that event. So I could easily see them retrofitting that into regular Dominion game modes, and that would be really cool to see. I still think that this is a W, but maybe like a small W instead of a big W, because we are getting technically, new things that we can play on, even though they are maps that already exist within the game. At the end of the day, we're still getting more maps to be able to play on in Dominion, which still a win. Another thing they talked about right after that is that they're introducing a legacy pass, a legacy battle pass. So this basically means that for passes that you may have missed and content you may have wanted but weren't able to get because you were busy with something else or whatnot, you weren't playing For Honor, who knows. This is your opportunity to be able to get those different emotes, those different executions, effects, that kind of thing. I don't know the full extent of this. I don't know if it's going to go all the way back to the very beginning. I may have missed that during the live stream. I didn't listen too intently, but rest assured we're definitely going to be able to go back in time to for people that may have missed something that they wanted. For example, like the Jormungandr Mjolnir execution. Maybe they'll throw that in there. Who knows? But it's still nice to have, It gives people an opportunity to go back if they choose to and try to get some more stuff for their characters and drip them out even more. Got to turn them into a whole faucet at that point. Following that, they showed off a bit of the Varangian, specifically her armor and her her different weapons and how they're going to look. Very excited, not only to have a new Viking, because I believe the last new Viking that we had was Jormungandr, years ago. So it's really nice to see that they're bringing some love to some of the OG factions here, but also to add on to that, it's the first Viking with actual plated armor on. So that's really cool to see, because Vikings back in the day didn't only wear skirts and leather and animal skin. Yeah, they were worn, but they also wore armor too sometimes, and it's nice to see a bit of a difference here. With her, just to see how much of a heavy hitter she really can be, and a heavy defensively inclined hero she is. But just from looking at some of the different looks that she has, she really does remind me of Warlord. as far as like the stance that she has, like her idle stance, with also just like a smaller axe, kind of like in between Raider and Berserker axes. But yeah, she looks really neat, both in like the original fashion that she gets at the lower levels, and I think they showed off after that the higher tier fashion, where it's a lot more leaning into the metal aspects of her armor sets. And they all look really, really clean. I'm excited to unlock them all for sure. And then with the weapons, it's very much like kind of the same thing. You know, they start out pretty simple but clean, and then they kind of go off into a little bit more ornamental, a little bit more unique, I guess we could say, or bright, shiny kind of things. So you can kind of just drip her out according to, you know, how crazy you want to get. You can even just slap a fucking bird on her shield if you want. And finally, we got the actual kit, the actual fight kit first, and then obviously the feat kit later, with the Varangian Guard. I'm going to run through her move kit first in general, and then I'll kind of give my opinions at the end, and then we'll run right into the feats afterwards. So all of her lights are enhanced, as well as have crushing counter properties, so they are very safe to use. You'll also notice throughout all of these different movesets that she basically has 2-hit chains, kind of similar to Warlord. A lot of her kind of reminds me of Warlord a bit, so you'll notice that, you know, throughout the different things that they show you here. She also has a light into heavy chain, where the heavy actually is not only unblockable, but also pins the target for a little bit. After landing that unblockable successfully on somebody, you do have a few ways of following up here. You can follow up with a 400 millisecond unreactable, according to them anyway, headbutt bash, which I forget how much damage it does exactly, but it'll show it in the video here. But it is very fast. Enemies can dodge if they read it correctly. They could dodge out of it, but if they do and you read that response correctly, you don't have to do the headbutt. You could just go right into a guard break or go into nothing, and then you'll be able to either parry their dodge attack if they do a dodge attack, or you'll be able to guard break them. You'll be able to GB them if they do that empty dodge. All of her dodge attacks are also enhanced lights as well. You definitely get a sick little light parry on her if you see them doing a lot of dodge attacks at you. She also has a regular forward dodge bash that leads into the rest of her chains. This is unlike Warlord, where if he does his headbutt bash, you know, the bread and butter Warlord move, he only gets that light afterwards, basically. Or maybe a zone, I think, too. I haven't actually tested that out. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure it's just a light. But here you could say she gets essentially her full combos off just from that bash as well. So she does have some decent offensive measures here. But now we get into, I would say, would be one of the hallmarks of her kit. The down stance, the full guard stance. I originally, when I was first watching this, again, like I wasn't watching it like 100%, you know, the entire time, but I assumed incorrectly that you could just hold it down forever, akin to like, you know, Warlord full guard, BP full guard, Conqueror full guard, those kind of full guards. But it turns out that it's much more like Aramusha's Blade Blockade, where you press it and it only goes into that full guard for a bit, and then you end up naturally leaving it. However, this has a little bit of a few different properties to Aramusha's full guard, a little bit better than his, I would say. First of all, Aramusha doesn't look like a turtle when he does his full guard, and the Varangian Guard does, so that's automatically a +1 in my book. She also, like Aramusha, has multiple options out of that full guard response. She could do a light that goes into the rest of her chain sort of response. She could just do a straight up unblockable heavy, which pins them, which can go then into the headbutt, you know, guard break mix-up combo. And I think she could also go into a zone as well, which will be a nice way to, especially in 4v4s, it'll be nice to fend people off that way with its wide hitbox. They also talked about the fact that it's a sort of pseudo new mechanic in binding an opponent when they hit your full guard. So unlike other full guards where you bounce off of them for a brief moment, when you bounce off of her full guard, you actually are stunned for quite a bit longer. I don't know the actual time of it, but it's definitely a lot longer, as you can see here from the clips here. It leaves you, the way they explained it, I think, is it leaves you time to select what you really want to do in that given situation. And when this happens in team fights, as you'll see here in this next clip, you can literally essentially bind an entire team as they're hitting you, but only if you time that full guard correctly. So it is definitely going to be a timing thing. It's going to be a bit of a skill thing. But it looks like it's going to be shaping up to be quite nice. Overall, I enjoy the kit. It's not like overly complicated, and it's also not, you know, like the 5 million other characters in the game that have constant chaining offense. I mean, she is able to chain offense into itself, but it's not nearly as egregious as a lot of the other characters in the game right now. She is much more about, you know, quick combos, big defense, more simplistic overall, which I do like in my characters. I don't like having to worry about what I need to do as much as reading what the opponent's going to do. I like that level of fight ingenuity as opposed to just trying to out combo the opponent, you know. I think it's shaping up to be great, and I'm definitely going to be making a green Varangian Guard for sure, just for that brand representation. And now we got her feats to run through real quick. So she, like we said before, she takes a much more defensive approach, much more supportive approach to fights, and that is definitely emulated through the feats that they gave her, at least uniquely. I don't know what her other feats are going to be just yet. But her first feat is called Take Shelter. Basically, every time you do that superior block on enemy attacks, your allies, not you, but your allies, gain, I believe, 10 health per superior block. So you can literally just straight up heal them out of a lot of damage that they might have taken. So you gotta definitely be careful if you're facing one of the Varangians. You're definitely gonna have to be careful about throwing external stuff like that, because if she starts full blocking everything, full guarding everything, and she's just healing all of her team in a team fight, then you are gonna be at a severe disadvantage. So you definitely want to be careful around that. Her tier 2 is called Mistha Ward, or Mistha Ward. I'm not sure how to pronounce it exactly. But basically every time she does a crushing counter light, she does get a defense buff as well. So she gets even tankier, the shield gets even bigger, and the thighs get even stronger. Her tier 3 is called Acer Aura. Basically every time she lands the unblockable heavy on somebody, she has like a little like sonar pulse sort of thing, like a spider sense sort of thing, that basically allows her to buff her allies and her with a bit of an attack buff. And finally, we have Reclaim the Land, aka the unholy amalgamation, the unholy baby of Spearstorm and Doom Banner. Basically, the first part of this is Spearstorm from Highlander, where she rains down a bunch of spears. It's obviously, I don't think it's as strong, obviously, as Highlanders, but it's a nice opening. And then once those spears are done falling, a Doom Banner basically just pops up out of nowhere and is there for, you know, for a while during the fight. So it's a nice 2-for-1 feat. I could see this making a crazy amount of plays for people for sure, to just swing a fight in your favor instantaneously, because you get that initial projectile damage that you can't really avoid if they're aiming it correctly at you. Like, it's not like you could parry or block it or something like that. It's most likely going to hit you if the person that's using it isn't dumb or blind. And then it leaves that Doom Banner there, so you can literally just go in with your team and you instantly not only have a health advantage from the Spearstorm part of it landing, but you're also going to have that advantage of them having a defense debuff against your team, who most likely is going to have their health going up with the full guard from her, the attack buff if she lands unblockables. She's a very, very supportive style character with these types of feats, and it really does remind me a lot of I think Griffin is a good comparison here. He's got a lot of different health buffing feats, other different types of buffing feats, and it helps to keep his team in the fight, much like she can here. All in all, really love the character. Very excited to get a chance to play her pretty soon. Next week, I believe she comes out February 1st, I think they said. But it's really cool to see that they're bringing in kind of like a check, I don't want to say like a complete counter to all the speed ups that they've been doing, all the different aggression they've been implementing into the game, but she'll definitely be a really good check to all that kind of, you know, externaling, constant combos, that kind of stuff. She'll be able to slow things down a decent amount so that all of that offense doesn't necessarily get out of hand, at least as much as it has been lately with the team fight meta that we've been going through for a while. And finally, we got some patch notes.
What? What the fuck?
Yeah, overall, I mean, yes, these two needed, I guess, a little bit of changes. Shinobi damage changes are fine, I guess. And Afira definitely needed the damage nerf to her wall splat combo, that's for sure. But I was expecting a little more. You know, these patch notes are not as good as I thought they would be, but it's another smaller W And I guess you take the W's where you can get them, folks, am I right? And just like that, we have concluded another Warrior's Den overview. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you drop in that sub, leave a like, leave a comment, so I get to read them all, and I don't feel so alone when I go to bed at night. Until next time, stay turtly, stay awesome, and we will see you on the next one.